She was my boyfriend's ex. She showed up to our baby shower uninvited, holding a manila envelope. I thought it was for him. But then she looked straight at the crowd, walked up to someone and said, "This is yours." What happened next turned the shower into a bloodline war. It was supposed to be a celebration. The kind of day you imagined when everything else felt uncertain. Cupcakes lined the patio table in perfect rows. Pastel balloons tangled in the arms of toddlers who couldn't hold still. My best friend, Jada, was walking around in a sundress, way too fancy for backyard weather, directing everyone like she was auditioning for a daytime wedding planner show. Even Ty's mom had cracked a rare smile, helping pass out the little Team Pink or Team Blue pins we made on Canva. I just finished cutting the cake with Ty when it happened. He leaned in, whispered something about sneaking a second slice when no one was looking, and kissed my cheek. His hand settled on the small of my back like we were posing for one of those perfect pregnancy pictures. Him, me, a belly, a future. And then over the music, someone muttered, who invited her? I looked up, and I swear the air shifted. Candace, standing at the edge of the lawn in a burgundy blazer like she didn't just crash a pastel-coated baby shower, arms crossed. A manila envelope tucked under one arm. That same smile she always wore like she knew something no one else did. Someone dropped a drink. I didn't see who. Candace didn't move. She just stood there and scanned the crowd like she was looking for someone specific. When her eyes landed, I expected them to stop on Ty. They didn't. They slid right past him and locked onto his dad, James. Ty's dad was half-turned toward the grill, joking with his brother about something. When he noticed the silence, he looked over and froze. Candace stepped forward. Her heels clicked against the stone tiles like punctuation marks. Calm. Intentional, like she was walking down an aisle, not into a war. "I'm not here for Ty," she said, every neck turned. She didn't blink, didn't smile this time either. She was focused. "I'm here for you," she said, pointing slightly with the envelope, not a threat, but not casual either. At James didn't move. His wife Lana glanced at him and then back at Candace, eyes already narrowing like she didn't need context. Like her body already knew what her brain didn't want to admit. "What is this?" James said, straightening up slowly. His voice had dropped, not loud, not soft, just flat. Like he was hoping the ground would open up under him before anyone else could ask the same thing. Candace lifted the envelope slightly. A conversation we should have had a long time ago. Ty was already stepping forward. "Candace, what the hell are you doing?" She didn't even acknowledge him. The envelope made a soft slap as she placed it on the table near the punch bowl. It looked out of place, like a court order dropped at a birthday party. Candace turned to the crowd. "I know this looks insane," she said, "but I figured it was time to stop pretending." "Pretending what?" Someone muttered, maybe one of Ty's cousins, maybe his aunt. It didn't matter. Everyone was holding their breath anyway. Candace faced James again. "I thought I was dating your son," she said, voice steady. "Turns out I might have been dating you." And just like that sentence ripped the sound barrier, everything exploded. The music hadn't even been paused yet. Someone tripped trying to grab the Bluetooth speaker. A baby started crying. Lana, James's wife, looked like she was about to be sick. James's mouth opened and closed once, then again, and then he just stood there like his tongue forgot what words were. Ty said something. I think it was, "What the FK is going on?" But I couldn't hear it over the rush of blood in my ears. Jada reached for me. I pulled away. I couldn't feel the floor. Candace opened the envelope and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It fluttered slightly in the wind, just enough to flash the red border at the top. DNA test. She held it up. Then she looked at James again, not Ty, not me, not anyone else. And she said, "You know what this is." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just stood there, one arm loose at her side, the other holding up the paper, and delivered the blow like a judge. "I sent it in last month," she continued. "Used one of those mail-in kits. Because I needed to know." Someone whispered, "Is this a joke?" and got shushed immediately. James finally spoke. "You're lying." Candace didn't flinch. "You used your card to book the hotel, February, Chicago. Room 409. His face changed. Not panic, not yet, just something flickered. Recognition, confirmation, and then stillness. Ty's hands were clenched so hard I could see the veins in his neck. You knew she was seeing me, he said to his dad. No answer. Tell me you didn't, Ty started, then stopped himself, looked back at Candace. You slept with him. Candace finally looked at Ty. No, she said flatly. I didn't sleep with him. Relief washed across Ty's face for a half-second before she added, I was sleeping with you, but he was in the same city, same hotel, same elevator, same breakfast table. Gasps rippled through the crowd like static. James took a step back, and then Candace said it. I'm pregnant, and the test says there's a 50% chance he's the father. The world stopped spinning. Cake melted on plates. Confetti stuck to the bottoms of shoes. Someone's champagne glass tipped off the table in slow motion. The baby shower, our baby shower, had just become a courtroom, and I wasn't sure who was guilty yet. The crowd froze. Every breath felt loud. The kind of silence where even the wind doesn't dare move. Ty didn't speak. James didn't blink, and me, I wasn't even sure my legs were still under me. James finally stepped forward, slow like gravity got heavier. What is this? He asked. His voice cracked around the edges, no longer flat, brittle now, like he already knew but needed to hear her say it anyway. Candace reached into the envelope again, pulled out a single page. I didn't come to play games, she said, voice low. This is real. She walked toward him, not rushed, not hesitant, just sure, and handed him the paper like it weighed nothing. He didn't take it at first, just stared at it. So she let it go, let it fall. It drifted between them before landing on the grass. White, one page, red header, standard lab format. James didn't reach for it, neither did anyone else. But Ty did. He bent, picked it up, scanned it like he was trying to translate a different language. His lips moved as he read it silently. Then his head snapped up. This says, probability of paternity James Walker, 48%. The way he said his dad's name out loud felt violent. Candace folded her arms. Yeah, which means either you're the dad or he is. And now I need an actual test. Ty let the paper drop from his hands like it burned. You're lying, he said. You're manipulating everything again, you always twist. I didn't make your dad book that hotel, Candace cut in. I didn't make him bring me flowers, or talk about how lonely he was, or ask what it felt like to be with someone who listened. James flinched. Lana, his wife, was already turning red. Not angry, ashamed, humiliated. Ty turned to his mom. Did you know about this? Lana's arms were crossed, jaw tight. Don't drag me into your father's sins. Oh, now they're sins, James snapped. Were they not? She shot back. Someone from the other side of the yard, maybe Ty's cousin, the one with the loud mouth, and the iPhone always half-raised like she was waiting for a moment to go viral, muttered. This is better than that season of love and lies. And that's when it snapped. Lana stood up, walked across the yard, and slapped James so hard the sound cracked like a whip. No one moved. She stepped back, face calm, looked him in the eye and said, This family's cursed. James didn't argue. He just stared at the ground like the answer was buried in the grass. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even hold Ty's hand anymore. I didn't know whose hand I'd been holding all these months. Candace turned to me. Sorry to ruin your party, she said, but her tone wasn't sarcastic. It wasn't smug. It was weirdly gentle, like she meant it. Like she knew exactly what she detonated and wasn't proud of it. But I figured better now than at your wedding. I blinked. She reached into her bag one more time and pulled out a second envelope. Smaller, lighter, then stepped toward me. People parted like she was radioactive. When she got to me, she didn't say anything for a moment, just held the envelope out. In case you still think you know who you're marrying. I didn't take it, I just looked at it. Her arm stayed extended, unshaking. Eventually, I reached up and grabbed it. Our fingers didn't touch. Then she turned and walked out. No grand exit, no final line, just heels against pavement and a stunned silence trailing behind her like smoke. I didn't open the envelope. Not yet, but everyone was staring at me like I already had. Ty tried to speak. I didn't let him. I stood there, clutching that stupid little envelope with the same hands I used to rub my belly at night, whispering stories to a child who hadn't even arrived yet. The cupcakes were melting. The music had been off for so long, you could hear the birds again. And somewhere inside me, something snapped shut. Because whatever this party was supposed to be, it wasn't anymore. Ty grabbed her arm before she made it off the patio. "What the hell was that?" he demanded. Candace didn't flinch, didn't even blink. "You want to talk here?" she asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Or would you rather go over it again, like we did in Chicago?" His hand dropped like she'd burned him. "What are you talking about?" Ty said, already sounding tired, already slipping into damage control. "You're making this up. You've always been like this." Candace opened her purse again. "No," she said, "I've always been prepared." She pulled out a second folded sheet of paper. This one creased tighter, used more. Like she'd taken it out and read it 100 times, maybe memorized it. James was already walking back toward the house. Lana blocked him with a hand. "You're not going anywhere. Don't tell me what to do," James muttered, trying to keep his voice down, but everyone still heard it. Candace ignored them. Her attention was still on Ty. "Remember that trip I took alone?" she said. Ty's face twitched. "What trip?" "The one you rolled your eyes at. The one you said was a waste of money. That I needed to find myself, or whatever." Ty said nothing. "I wasn't alone," Candace said, then turned her head slowly toward James. "Your dad flew out." Gasps again, softer this time, tired gasps. Like people were starting to run out of breath but couldn't look away. James shook his head. "No," he said. "No, I didn't." Candace unfolded the paper. "Chicago, February, Palmer House Hotel, room 409, 2 nights. Reservation under James Walker. Paid in full with this card." She held up another slip, a black and white scan of a receipt. "Ending in 4227. Ty turned to his dad. "Tell me she's lying." James didn't answer. Candace stepped closer. "You wore that stupid blue striped tie," she added. "Told me I looked like someone who deserved better." Still nothing. The silence became an answer. A slow, suffocating admission. Ty looked from Candace to his dad, then back again. "Why would he even talk to you?" he said, his voice cracking. Candace didn't soften. "Because you ignored me, and he didn't." Lana spoke next. Her voice was quiet, but every word carried. "You went to Chicago. You told me you were in Atlanta for work." James looked at her, mouth opening and closing. Then, finally, "It wasn't supposed to mean anything." Lana let out a short, bitter laugh. "It never does. Until it does." Ty backed up, looked like he might actually throw up. "You're sick," he said to his father. James's expression didn't change. Jada came to stand beside me. Whispered, "You want me to get your mom." I shook my head. I didn't want my mom. I didn't want a chair. I didn't want comfort. I wanted answers. Candace dropped the paper on the table next to the first DNA test. "It's all there," she said. "And now one of you needs to step up." Ty didn't move. James looked away. The baby inside me kicked for the first time in hours, and I finally understood what it meant to feel entirely alone in a room full of people. Lana stood still for a full beat, then walked toward James again. Nobody said a word. She didn't yell, didn't curse, just raised her hand and slapped him again, harder this time. The sound cracked through the quiet like a gunshot. James stumbled back a step. Then came Lana's voice, calm, brutal, and final. "This family's cursed." It didn't sound like a statement. It sounded like a truth that had lived inside her for years, finally crawling out. Candace didn't blink. She turned to me next, ignoring the whispers building behind her, the shocked faces, the eyes darting between Ty and James like a tennis match no one had bet on. "Sorry to ruin your party," she said. And this time the smile was gone. No sharpness, no smugness, just a quiet resignation. Like she hated this as much as I did, but knew it had to be done. "I figured better now than at your wedding." I just stared at her. She reached into her bag one more time, pulled out a smaller, sealed envelope, thin, white, marked with only my name in small black pen, handed it to me. "In case you still think you know who you're marrying." I didn't take it right away. Jada stepped forward. "You've done enough." Candace looked at her, not aggressive, just direct. "You think I wanted this?" she said. "You think I enjoyed realizing the guy I was still trying to get over had me tangled in something disgusting?" I could have said nothing, but then what? Let her marry into this mess blind. Jada didn't respond. She couldn't. No one could. So I reached out and took the envelope from Candace's hand. She didn't say another word. Just gave a slight nod, not to me, to the situation, like she was closing a chapter. Then she walked away, past the cake, past the decorations. past the people frozen in shock or pretending not to be listening. Ty stepped toward me. Sophie. I turned away from him. You don't even know what's in it yet, he said. I know enough, I said quietly. He reached for my arm. You're going to believe her over me. I looked at him, at the face I used to kiss without question, at the man I thought I'd start forever with, at the person who didn't even flinch when Candace said pregnant and maybe your dad's in the same sentence. You didn't even deny it, I said. Ty swallowed, because it didn't mean anything. She manipulated me, you know how she is. And your dad, I asked, did he fall under her spell too? He didn't answer, just sat on the edge of one of the folding chairs like someone had unplugged him. Hands in his hair, mouth tight, not one word for the baby, not one glance at me. I looked down at the envelope, then at the cake still melting in the sun, and then at Ty again. You're more upset about being exposed than about what you did. He didn't deny that either. I turned to Lana, who was staring off at the fence like she'd seen a ghost. I'm sorry, I said quietly. She looked at me, eyes heavy. Don't apologize for what you didn't ruin. The crowd had started thinning. Slowly, like they weren't sure if it was over or just the intermission. But I knew it was over. The baby shifted again. And for the first time, I touched my belly not with wonder, but with resolve. Because whatever this child grew up knowing, it wouldn't be a lie. I opened the envelope that night, waited until the house was quiet. Until Jada was asleep on the couch and the last relative had stopped texting, "Are you okay?" with wide-eyed emojis and awkward hearts. Inside, screenshots. Dozens of them. Some blurry, some sharp, all damning. First one, a reservation confirmation for a bistro downtown. Candace and Ty, dinner for two, same week he told me he'd be clearing his head at his cousin's cabin upstate. Another, a selfie. Candace smiling. Ty holding a wine glass, hand halfway across the table like he was reaching for hers. The date stamp was the same night he FaceTimed me, said he missed me, told me he was cold and wished I was there to warm him up. Text messages next. One of them read, Ty, you looked good last night, I wasn't ready for that. Candace, you kiss me first, don't act surprised. Ty, I panicked, I still care about her, but it's hard when you're you. Candace, hard to stay away or hard to lie. Ty, both. My hands started to shake. Next set, location pings. One from a gas station 30 minutes from our house. Candace's location. Ty's phone was pinged there too, same minute. Same second. Then, Ty, she's hormonal, I just need space, you understand me better. Candace, then why'd you leave? Ty, because if I stay, I'll make it worse. Candace, you mean you'll choose me? He didn't respond after that one. The final screenshot? A note Candace wrote to herself, a picture of it in her journal. He keeps pretending I'm the one who's reckless, but he's the one who drives into fire with a full tank. I just hold the lighter. I closed the envelope, sat there for 10 full minutes, not crying, not yelling, just sitting. Jada stirred from the couch. You okay? I shook my head. No. She sat up, hair messy, mascara halfway down one cheek. What was in it? I held up the envelope. Proof. Of what? That I wasn't paranoid, I said. That every time I felt something was off, I wasn't wrong. I was just early. She didn't ask to see, she didn't need to. Jada knew me well enough to understand I didn't need her opinion. I just needed her to stay quiet, stay nearby. And not say, I told you so. The baby kicked again. I whispered, I know, like I was the one apologizing now, for not leaving sooner, for not trusting myself louder. Because Ty hadn't just lied. He'd planned around the lie. Scheduled FaceTimes during dates. Told me he missed me while he was looking into someone else's eyes. Ate meals with one hand on her knee and the other texting, love you, babe, to me. And now, I wasn't even sure if Candace was the enemy. Or the mirror. I waited until the next evening. Ty came home like nothing happened, like the entire baby shower hadn't turned into a live episode of paternity roulette with him and his father as the prize options. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door, toed off his sneakers and called out, Babe. I didn't answer. He walked into the kitchen and saw me sitting at the table. The envelope was right in front of me, unsealed. Its contents stacked neatly. Intentional, he looked at it, then at me, then back at it. He didn't sit down. Sophie, he started, slow and measured, like he was choosing his tone the way people pick wires in a bomb movie. I didn't move. You said you were clearing your head. You said you needed space. He swallowed. I did. And you filled that space with her. It didn't mean anything. I laughed once, quiet and humorless. He stepped closer. She manipulated me. You know how she is. And your dad, I asked. Did she manipulate him too? That landed. He stopped walking. I stood up. Candace didn't manufacture those texts. She didn't forge your dinner receipts. She didn't write your lies and sign them in your name. Ty didn't defend himself. He pulled out a chair and sat down, elbows on his knees, hands in his hair like the weight of this mess was just now settling in. She's pregnant, I said. You realize that, right? She might be carrying your sibling, or your child, or both, and you were still sleeping with her. He didn't look up. I waited. Nothing, not even a "that's not true." Not a denial, not a plea, just silence. So that's it? I asked. You're just going to sit there and let me carry this whole thing while you hide behind your hands? He finally looked up. I don't know what to say. Try starting with the baby, I snapped. Hours. His mouth opened. Closed, no words. The silence was louder than anything he could have said. I sat back down. Stared at the man I used to plan baby names with. The one I used to imagine painting a nursery beside. The one who said he wanted a family, then sabotaged every piece of it before the crib was even assembled. You didn't think about us at all, I said. I did. No, I cut in. You thought about guilt, you thought about exposure. You thought about how to make it all look manageable. But you didn't think about me, or this child. He ran a hand down his face. I messed up, I get it, but you're throwing away everything over one mistake. One, I raised an eyebrow. Ty, you've been weaving this for months. You didn't just trip and fall into your ex. You booked dinners, you sent texts. You kissed her and told me you were asleep. That's not a mistake. That's a campaign. He stood. So what now? I didn't answer. He reached for the envelope and picked it up like it was a weight. Like now, maybe, he'd finally look at the reality inside it. You think she wins now? He asked. You think she gets everything? I blinked. You're still treating this like a contest. He didn't respond. I took the envelope from his hands and tucked it into a drawer behind me, then looked at him one more time. If this is what you look like when you lose, I said, I can't imagine what kind of man you are when you win. And with that, I walked past him, straight to the bedroom, locked the door, and for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I slept. Not well, not peacefully, but without checking my phone, without wondering who he was texting, without waiting to be lied to. James moved out the next morning, didn't even pack everything. Just left behind a suitcase and a note scrawled on the back of a CVS receipt. Tell your mother I'll call when I can think straight. Lana didn't wait for the call. She filed for divorce that afternoon. There wasn't a fight, no yelling. No tears, just signatures and a quiet slam of a car door as she drove off to her sister's place without looking back. Ty didn't say a word about it. Not to me, not to her. He just kept walking through the house like his spine had folded inward. Like if he made himself small enough, maybe he could hide from it all, from the truth, from himself. But Candace wasn't done. She called me 2 days later. I almost didn't pick up. But when I saw her name flash across the screen, something in me tightened. Not curiosity, not anger, instinct. I answered. She didn't say hello. She just asked, "Are you somewhere quiet?" I sat on the porch, phone pressed against my ear, heartbeat already crawling up my throat. What is it now? There's a second test I want, she said. My stomach dropped. What test? For my baby. I didn't speak. I knew better. Knew not to ask questions I wasn't ready to hear answers to, but she filled the silence anyway. Because yes, she said, I'm pregnant. The words didn't land like a bomb. They didn't need to. They just sat there heavy, immovable, like bricks stacked on my chest. And either Ty or James is the father. I didn't say anything, not at first. She kept going. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but I figured if this were flipped, if you were the one with the envelope, and I was playing house with a man who might have gotten his ex and his father pregnant, you'd tell me. The honesty in her voice made me want to scream. Not because she was wrong, but because she was right. What do you want from me? I asked finally. Nothing, she said. I just figured you should know. You're going to test them. Yes, I've already booked the appointment. They can come together or separate. Doesn't matter to me. My throat was dry, and if it's Ty's, Then he has 2 kids on the way, she said. And if it's James's, then he has a fresh start to ruin, she replied. Either way, I'm not disappearing. The call ended before I could respond. I just sat there, staring at the baby shower decorations still half-boxed on the porch. The pink and blue streamers, the onesies. The cheap banner that said it's almost time. I picked up the banner and stared at the words. Almost time. Time for what? Another test, another truth, another quiet, brutal unraveling, because I'd thought the worst was behind us. But now the story had a sequel. And this time the ending might split the bloodline in half. Candace didn't beg, she didn't threaten, didn't twist arms, she just sent a group text. Me, Ty, James, Candace, appointment is Thursday, 9 a.m. I don't need support, I need clarity. No emojis, no guilt, just fact. James replied with a single line, James, I won't be attending. Nothing else, not even a period. Ty didn't answer immediately. He stared at the message for so long I could see the blue reflection of his screen glowing in his eyes. When I asked if he was going, he said nothing. Just stood up, walked to the sink, poured a glass of water, stared at it like it held an answer. I didn't press him. I didn't have to. Because the next morning he was gone, didn't say goodbye, didn't leave a note, just disappeared before sunrise. He came back late, almost midnight. Jacket half-zipped, hair still damp from a shower I didn't ask about. I was sitting on the couch, arms folded over my stomach. He walked past me, said nothing. I let him get 3 steps into the hallway before I spoke. You went. He paused, didn't turn around. Yeah. My chest tightened. Why? He finally looked over his shoulder, and I hated what I saw in his face. Hope, not dread, not fear, not regret. Hope. Like the idea of that child being his gave him something to claim, something cleaner than the wreckage he'd already made here. You think this is your second chance? I asked. He blinked. What do you mean? If that baby is yours, I said slowly, you think that resets the story. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, I cut in. I can see it. You're hoping it's yours, because if it's yours, you can rewrite the narrative. Pretend she pulled you back in. Pretend it's fate. Pretend this wasn't all you're doing. That's not true. I stood up, walked toward him. You wanted out of this mess, I said. You wanted to be the victim of bad timing, bad parenting, bad circumstances. But you weren't. You were the architect. And now you're just hoping the blueprint looks like redemption. He shook his head. I just wanted the truth. No, I snapped. You wanted a clean truth. One that makes you the guy who just got caught up, not the guy who created the mess. Silence, then he whispered, I needed to know. And if it's yours, I asked, you going to co-parent with your ex while I sit here raising this baby alone? His eyes dropped. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, I said. He looked like he wanted to fight back, but there was nothing left to say. Because the truth wasn't just painful. It was continuous, still happening, still growing, still showing up at 9 a.m. appointments with DNA tests and silent elevators. I walked past him, stopped at the hallway. You didn't even ask how our baby's doing. He turned slowly. How is the baby? I didn't answer, just stared at him. Because if you had to be reminded to care, then you never really did. The results came back 2 weeks later. Not through a phone call, not in some dramatic in-person reveal, just an email. 1 line, no fanfare. Probability of paternity, James Walker, 99.7%. I read it 3 times. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I did. James, not Ty, not both, just James. The grandfather of my unborn child was about to become the father of someone else's. Ty was out when the results arrived. Grocery run. Or maybe just hiding again. I didn't call him. I didn't say a word. I waited. And when he came home, he walked in holding a bag of takeout like it was a normal Thursday. I was sitting at the kitchen island. Laptop open. Screen glowing. He didn't notice it right away. Just dropped the bag on the counter and said, they were out of your ginger tea, so I got lemon instead. Then his eyes landed on the screen. He froze, walked over, read it. His face barely moved. Then he let out a breath, long, relieved, like a man who'd narrowly missed getting hit by a car. At least it's not mine, he muttered, that sentence, like it was the victory. Like his blood not being on that child's birth certificate made everything else disappear. I didn't say anything at first, Just closed the laptop. Slowly, deliberately. He was still standing there, eyebrows halfway raised like he expected me to match his relief. Maybe even congratulate him. "You think that's the win?" I asked. He blinked. "I mean, it could have been worse." "Worse," I echoed. "You mean worse than finding out your father impregnated the same woman you were sneaking around with behind my back? Worse than your ex showing up to our baby shower with receipts? Worse than you lying to my face while booking dinner with her?" His jaw tensed. "I didn't mean it like that." "You meant it exactly like that," I said, "because you're still measuring this in damage control, not consequence." He stepped back, crossed his arms. "Look, I know I messed up, but I'm trying to make things right." "No," I said, "you're trying to look right, there's a difference." He didn't respond. I stood, walked to the drawer where I'd hidden Candace's envelope, pulled it out. Held it up. "You see this?" I said. "This isn't just proof, it's prophecy. It showed me exactly who you are when you think no one's watching." "Sophie." I dropped the envelope on the counter. "Don't, just don't." He watched me walk away. Didn't follow, didn't stop me. And I think somewhere deep in that hollow chest of his he knew. This wasn't about Candace anymore, or James, or DNA tests. This was about the baby, the one still growing, still waiting. Still deserving more than a man who only breathed easy when someone else took the blame. I waited until he left for work. Didn't rush, didn't cry, didn't leave a single thing behind that wasn't intentional. The kitchen smelled like leftover soy sauce and regret. His sneakers were by the door, one still untied. The takeout bag was crumpled in the trash, untouched. I stood in the bedroom with an open suitcase, not the big one. Not the kind you take for vacations or new lives, just enough for me and the baby. I packed the ultrasound picture first. Slipped it into a hardcover journal I'd started months ago when the cravings hit, and I thought baby brain would make me forget what kind of fruit I'd wanted that day. Peach, it was always peach. Then I grabbed the baby onesie that said, "Hi, Daddy," across the front in yellow print, the one I was saving for a surprise. Folded it, tucked it deep under the rest of my things. Because that surprise wasn't needed anymore. I didn't take the ring. Didn't take the framed picture on the dresser from our first anniversary. The one where we were laughing at something he'd whispered. The one everyone said looked like love. Maybe it was, or maybe I was just good at pretending. I left the house key on the kitchen table. Placed it next to the envelope Candace gave me. Then wrote a note, just one line. "There's only one child I'll be raising, and it's not you." I didn't sign it, didn't need to, he'd know. By the time he got home, I was gone, phone off. Socials logged out. No breadcrumb trail, no dramatic goodbye. I blocked every number with his blood in it. James, Lana, cousins, aunts, all of them. If they wanted answers, they could get them from each other. I wasn't repeating myself. I wasn't explaining the weight of betrayal to people who taught each other how to carry it and call it normal. I took the bus to Jada's. She didn't ask questions. Just opened the door, helped me carry the suitcase up the stairs, and handed me a bowl of the same spaghetti we used to eat in college when the world felt too loud. I ate half of it before the tears started. Not loud sobs, not shaking or gasping or holding my stomach like in the movies. Just quiet, steady tears that wouldn't stop coming. Jada didn't hug me. She just sat across from me, sipping water and letting me cry with both hands free. When I finished, she slid the ultrasound across the table. "He'll never be ready," she said. "But you already are." And that was the first time I believed it, because walking away didn't feel like failure. It felt like a beginning. A loud, clear, enough is enough beginning, and I didn't need a test to prove it. People still ask why the baby shower ended early. At work, at church, even the old neighbor who only got invited for headcount padding and potato salad. I just smile and say someone opened the wrong envelope. That usually shuts them up, because the truth is heavy, and no one wants to carry it. The ones who push a little harder, the ones who pretend it's concern and not curiosity, they always ask the follow-up. So who was the father? I never say Ty or James. I say, mine's the one who didn't need a test to step up. Because not every father is a donor. And not every man with your child's face in his nose is capable of holding your child when they cry. It didn't happen overnight. There was no romantic rescue, just a man I used to work with in the city, Marcus. He was always kind, always a little too quiet at meetings, always the first to hold the door open, the last to leave when chairs needed stacking. We reconnected at the pharmacy of all places. I was restocking prenatal vitamins, he was buying cough drops. He noticed the bump, smiled, said congratulations. I must have looked unsure because he added, only if you want them. That made me laugh. I hadn't laughed in a while. Weeks turned into walks. Walks turned into meals, meals into soft check-ins. He never pried, never asked about Ty or Candace or baby showers that exploded like landmines. He just showed up. Sometimes with a smoothie, sometimes with a charger when mine was dead, sometimes with silence when that's all I could handle. The first time he came with me to a prenatal appointment, the nurse asked if he was the father. He said not yet, and I cried in the car afterward, not because I believed him, but because I wanted to. I still don't know what we are, but I know what he is. He's the one who talks to the bump like it's already listening. He's the one who started reading books on how to swaddle before I even unpacked the crib. He's the one who said, "You don't have to earn calm, you deserve it." And I believe him, because love isn't always a thunderclap or a perfect timing fairy tale. Sometimes it's just peace, persistence, presence. So when people ask about the father, I say, he's the one who stayed. And that's all that matters. Candace sent me a gift last week. No note, no message, just a plain brown package left at the front desk of the apartment building. No sender name, just my first name written in sharp block letters across the label. I opened it after a long day of laundry, breast pump tutorials, and trying to figure out how to assemble a stroller without crying. Inside was a bib, white, soft, no frills. The words stitched across the front in red thread. We don't do family secrets. I sat down on the floor right there in the kitchen. Didn't cry, didn't laugh, just held it. The message wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it said everything. Because Candace and I weren't friends. We probably never would be. We weren't allies or enemies. We were just women who had both been made collateral in someone else's cowardice. And now, we were the cleanup crew. The ones left to raise the children who didn't ask for any of this. To rewrite the script. To end the cycle. I folded the bib and placed it in the same drawer where I'd kept mine, the one that said Team Pink in faded print from that shower that imploded. 2 bibs, 2 stories. 2 babies who would grow up one day and ask questions, and when they did, we'd tell them everything. Not the cleaned-up version, not the he tried his best version, not the it was complicated excuse. The truth, that we loved them before we even knew how broken the people around them were. That we protected them, even when it meant walking away from the people we once built futures with. That we chose peace, and then we chose to protect it fiercely. Because the world didn't need more secrets dressed up as protection. It needed mothers who told the truth, even when it hurt. Especially then. And when my daughter's fingers are strong enough to hold that bib, I'll show her both. And say, these were your beginnings, but you are not bound by them. Because she won't inherit silence, she'll inherit fire. And she'll know that everything she was born into, every tangled thread of it, was met with open eyes. And a mother who said, not this time. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.